Hi everyone, welcome to WION Live Broadcast, New York City. I'm Susan Tehrani. First, let's take a look at the stories making headlines this hour. Chinese President Xi Jinping says Beijing and Moscow should upgrade economic and trade cooperation as both countries sign a series of agreements aimed at boosting bilateral ties. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu secures a 2-year national budget and suggests that this can possibly clear the way for controversial judiciary reform. At least 10 Indian political parties to skip inauguration of the new parliament complex on May 28th. The opposition parties say the president should inaugurate the building, not Prime Minister Modi. Fighting between Sudan's warring generals has displaced over 1 million people inside the country since it erupted on April 15th. This, according to the International Organization for Migration. World Health Organization chief issues a warning that the world must get ready for the next pandemic, which might be, quote, even deadlier than COVID-19 at a time when COVID cases are stabilizing around the world. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis will announce his bid for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination in a live-stream Twitter chat with owner Elon Musk. DeSantis will make the announcement in a tech-charged manner to take on and possibly outshine frontrunner Donald Trump.
It was so beautiful. It was the most beautiful night.
Yes, I will be interviewing Ron DeSantis, and he has quite an announcement to make. And it'll be the first time that something like this is happening on social media and with real-time questions and answers. Not scripted, so it's going to be live and let her up. Let's see what happens.
DeSantis is touting his ultra-conservative record as governor of Florida as a blueprint for the entire country. The announcement will most likely be followed by the release of a campaign video and the start of a 3-day retreat in Miami for some of the Republican leaders' wealthiest donors. During the event, they will be briefed on the campaign before the governor makes a swing through several early voting states next week. Long viewed as the most viable challenger to Trump, DeSantis is better known than most of the hopefuls in the chasing pack for the Republican nomination. However, he still lacks the frontrunner's national profile. The Twitter format offers DeSantis an advantage. It gives him precious access to Musk's 140 million followers, many of whom are in Trump's base. If he wins the nomination, he will gain the attention of a chunk of younger, less conservative voters that he will likely need for a shot at the White House. But analysts say the 44-year-old official launched comes as his ratings decline, despite a slate of right-wing legislative wins in his state. A number of policy missteps have prompted disquiet about his readiness to take on Trump, with some, not all donors, worried that he may have peaked too soon. Well, we'll soon find out. For more on this, we are joined by Adele Nazarian from Washington, D.C. She is a media fellow at Gold Institute for International Strategy. Adele, great to see you. Welcome back to WION. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, as expected, will be announcing his candidature later today. What can we expect?
Great to be on with you again, Suzanne. I would not expect anything less than a massive turnout for this historic announcement. And I think a lot of it has to do, not to say that Ron DeSantis isn't a big name, but it's really Elon Musk that is the main attraction in this Twitter Spaces to put forth such a historic announcement on a social media platform that actually is increasingly merging into a go-to, what has always been a news source, but is truly solidifying itself as potentially the news source of the future. So maybe hundreds of thousands of viewers. I'm excited to see how many people actually tune in.
Yeah, me too. You know, with DeSantis entering the ring, as you mentioned, with this social media platform that is going to be waiting for him to see what he's going to say, do you think that he has a considerable leverage even before entering the race, or as he makes this announcement, over the media and internet's favorite Donald Trump?
This is, frankly, from what I've been seeing in terms of the media coverage of Trump, despite the fact that so many in mainstream media seem to abhor him, I think that Trump still has an edge. And I think that Elon Musk, though he's not going to endorse anyone, although traditionally we know that newspapers, media outlets do take a position when endorsing a presidential candidate, I do see this as a tacit, indirect endorsement of DeSantis. Perhaps we'll see a formal one. But I don't necessarily think that DeSantis has the edge to overtake Trump, although I think many of the people who were supporters of him in the past do think that maybe DeSantis will be, it's going to be a tough race, basically.
Yeah, well, we'll be watching very closely. And, you know, I think it's very interesting to see how the media will ultimately cover Ron DeSantis. They've been really focusing on these social wars that he's been having without focusing on the fact that he can actually govern a pretty successful state. Adele, it's always great to talk to you, and we look forward to having you again on WION very soon.
Thank you. Likewise. Talk to you soon.
The clock is ticking on the debt ceiling here in the United States, but the largest economy on earth is nowhere close to reaching a deal, at least its politicians aren't. Debt ceiling negotiations between the president and Congress have stalled yet again as a June 1st deadline looms. The two sides are locking on a classic problem that has vexed, divided, and disrupted Washington before. Republican-led by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy want to roll back federal government spending, while President Joe Biden and other Democrats do not. The Treasury Department says the government risks running out of cash to pay its bills if the impasse is not broken. Negotiators are expected to convene shortly for another round of talks as frustration mounts. But the political standoff is edging the country closer to a crisis, roiling financial markets on the one hand, threatening the global economy on the other. The long-standing debt over the size and scope of the federal government now has just days to be resolved. Dragging into a third week, the negotiations over raising the debt ceiling were never supposed to arrive at this point. Failure to raise the nation's debt ceiling, which is now at $31 trillion, would risk a potentially chaotic federal default, almost certain to inflict economic turmoil not only here at home, but also abroad as well. NATO is planning to open a liaison office in Japan, its first in Asia, to facilitate consultations in the region. Reports say that the liaison office will enable discussions with NATO's security partners, such as South Korea, Australia, as well as New Zealand, with geopolitical challenges from China and Russia in mind. But after Japan acknowledged NATO's plan, a spokesperson for China's foreign ministry said the Asia-Pacific region does not welcome this plan.
北约是一个区域性的组织，所以北约突破区域限制，向其他地区扩展。我们想说的是，亚太不欢迎集团对抗，不欢迎军事对抗。日本在历史问题上有着侵略的历史，应当在军事安全问题上格外的慎重，切实做有利于维护地区和平稳定的事情。
Although Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has said that they don't have any plans to join the Western military bloc, despite NATO planning to open an office in Tokyo. Shifting our focus now to the war in Ukraine, Russia claims that it has crushed a cross-border Ukrainian attack in Russia's Belgorod region. Russian military analysts say that the military actually says that it has killed over 70 Ukrainian nationalists and destroyed 4 Western armored vehicles. Belgorod's governor says that at least 1 civilian has been killed at the hands of Ukrainian forces. The intense fighting has forced Russia to evacuate 2 towns near the border. The United States, meanwhile, has played down reports that American-made military hardware was used in a cross-border raid. This after Russia released footage from the area showing damaged vehicles, including a U.S.-made Humvee. Kremlin has called the incident a testament to the West's growing involvement in the Ukrainian conflict. Russia has blamed Ukraine for the attack. However, Kyiv has denied the involvement of Ukrainian troops. Instead, 2 anti-Russian groups have claimed the responsibility. These, the Freedom of Russian Legion and the Russian Volunteer Corps.
These Russian volunteer forces, they cover a whole variety of different political perspectives. There are liberals and anarchists all the way through to neo-Nazis. And in their own way, they all have a reason for wanting to see the current Russian regime fall. So yes, absolutely, they're hoping that in some small way they can contribute to the downfall of the Putin regime.
Meanwhile, Wagner Group chief warns that Russia could face a revolution similar to those of 1917 and even lose the conflict in Ukraine unless the elite in Kremlin gets serious about the war. However, Yevgeny Prigozhin warned that Russia is moving towards a turmoil. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has decided not to investigate UK Home Secretary Swella Braverman over a spending offence fight. In his letter to Braverman, Sunak said that these matters do not amount to a breach of the ministerial code. Sunak added that while action could have been taken to avoid the perception of impropriety, he was nevertheless reassured that Mrs. Braverman took these matters seriously and regretted the action. In his letter to Braverman, Sunak said that these matters do not amount to a breach of ministerial code, as we mentioned. And he was nevertheless reassured that Mrs. Braverman took the issue seriously. Braverman defended her decision in a letter to Sunak. She said that her private speeding course was appropriate given that her new role as Home Secretary meant that she required security and that she had a lack of familiarity with the protocol. Several road safety campaigners accused the UK Home Secretary of ignoring the dangers of speeding. Swella Braverman became the latest minister to be caught committing a road traffic offence after UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was fined for not wearing a seatbelt.
His promises to you was to grow the economy, and today we're announcing the second round of allocation.
Well, for more on this, our correspondent Alec Isatz sent us this report from London. Let's take a listen.
Swella Braverman has got off with having an inquiry into the speeding ticket fiasco. Now, it does seem when it all came out that it all has relying on the fact that she asked a civil servant to suggest to see if she could potentially have a one-to-one private speeding awareness course. And then she decided to take the fine and to take the points on her license. And that all of this has blown out of proportion because at this moment in time, it does feel like there's a lot of people within her own party that don't really like Swella Braverman, and they are pushing for her to potentially be ousted. Now, Rishi Sunak has said that he supports her and that there will be no inquiry going forward, and that he does believe that she did not break the ministerial code, and he does support her. Now, this should be interesting for all those who are asking for him to be stronger over her statement when she spoke at the conference, and of course now as well. And a lot will be asking, well, what's next? She did break that ministerial code and resigned when Liz Truss was in charge. So it looks like that she will be focusing now on the immigration issues at hand and making sure that she solves some of those. that a lot of people are still asking why they haven't been solved and going forward. But of course, Labour is no doubt going to take this when we hear from PMQs and be asking again, why are ministers of the ruling party allowed to get away with certain aspects? Maybe we'll get more information then. This is Alex Isaac reporting from London for WION World is One.
Moving on, a Turkish intelligence official arrested a cell operation on behalf of the Mossad against Iranian assets. According to reports, 11 members of the 15-strong team were detained on accusations of spying on an Iranian company and 23 persons with businesses ties to the Islamic Republic. The National Intelligence Organization of the Republic of Turkey, MIT, reportedly uncovered the cell following an 18-month operation. At least one person arrested received training in Israel, said the reports. They identified the leader of the cell as businessman Seluk Kuchukaya. As Greece is going for re-elections scheduled on the 25th of June, the country will have a caretaker prime minister appointed by the president. Greece's New Democracy Party's prime minister, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, won the national elections, but was 5 seats short of a majority. The top 3 parties, including the opposition parties, turned down the mandate for a governing coalition, hence leading the country for a re-election. Under Greece's electoral system, after the first round of election, when a winner is not declared, then during the re-election, the party leading will get a bonus seat. And Mitsotakis is hopeful that after the second elections, his party will be able to gain the majority needed to rule alone. Re-elections also pose in favor of the opposition parties, as they are of the opinion that second elections will boost their ratings. To be able to benefit from bonus seats, it is essential for New Democracies to stay as the biggest party. However, this is likely to happen if the left-wing party Syriza secures 40% of the votes and overcome New Democracy to be a clear majority. The caretaker prime minister administration will take over next Sunday once the newly elected parliament, which was formed after May 21st elections, are dissolved. The Met Gala is one of the most awaited events of the year. Celebrities from all across the globe walk the red carpet dressed in their most creative outfits at the Met. But what everyone misses at the Met are animals. But worry not, our furry friends have finally found a way to be glamorous as well. Watch our next report.
This is one of my boys. This is Kimba. I have him since he fit in the palm of my hand. And his brother is the one that was Bad Bunny. That's his brother. They're twins. And I have them since they fit in the palm of my hand. And they love fashion. You can see they wear hats. It doesn't bother them. They wear glasses. They love it.
Campbell, which is a 2010 Chanel Spring Collection by Karl Lagerfeld, and we feel as though it suits her very well. She's definitely pink's her favorite color, and she's having a good day.